So good morning, Divya. Thank you for joining. And this is a session especially I wanted to talk to you because you are so inspirational. You're a physiotherapist, physical therapist, and you have two clinics in Vasai, a suburb of Mumbai, since November 2010. And you are a good runner, singer, multi-talented. So welcome. And this is especially a session ahead of the World Disability Day coming up, and we have the Global Inclusion Summit as a part of that on the December 5th. So it's wonderful having you, Divya. So I just wanted to ask you about what is it that World Disability Day means to you, and what do you think is the significance, and how currently in 2020 with the pandemic, what is it that you would like to give as a message to people out there on this occasion?
I think I would call this a World Inclusion Day rather than World Disability Day, because if we say disability, it kind of singles out a particular strata of people. So I feel that everyone has done changes, to be it to their lifestyles or to their work styles, considering the pandemic. So, and I thought I think we have also made the necessary changes. So um, I feel that change is the way of life and the law of nature, and all of us have to change to live peacefully and to live happily. And I thought, I feel that I have changed too. Like earlier, I had never imagined that I would be able to wear gloves and a shield and everything, and work and interact with patients, because social distancing is not something that visually impaired physios can do, because uh, touch is very essential to actually understand the patient's condition. But of course, with all the necessary precautions, like initially, of course, none of us had understood the disease well. So it would be a little scary to kind of work with all that, a little cumbersome also. But now I'm very much used to it, and in fact now I feel so secure when I have my gloves on, and even if I have to touch the patient, it's not like I'm venturing into some danger. I feel very safe now, and I feel that our body really adapts to the changes that we have to go through in life. So I feel that I have developed a better sense of touch also with my gloves on, because earlier I would feel that my sense of touch would be masked if I would wear gloves. But that's not the case anymore, and I feel I'm as good as I was before the pandemic, when I work efficiency wise also.
Have you participated in the virtual run for Community 1 and 2, which Guide Runners India organized? And how was your experience running virtually like that?
I had participated in the community run number two. I couldn't make it for the first run, and it was a wonderful experience to get connected to my guide runner, and we would share a lot of tips and our mutual understandings about health. And it was a great sharing experience, and as well as we would set goals, and just report to each other to kind of motivate each other to work on our goals. And it was a wonderful experience to run virtually. So like I ran on a treadmill, and it was a great experience, I
So,
feel.
how do you manage your practice at close to home? How much do you walk and how much do you run, and who helps you with that?
So I go for morning walks with my parents, or like sometimes I do yoga at home. I run on the treadmill in my clinic. I have not been doing a lot of outdoor running lately, but and as far as my clinics go, they are very close to my place. So that ways, I'm really fortunate. I don't have to use a lot of public transport, or I don't have to travel a lot. So that's really great. I can go to my clinic without feeling insecure about it.
How much do you run on a treadmill?
I run like 5.5 or 6 kilometers on a treadmill. say in like 45 minutes to an hour or so.
How is it different being visually impaired and then getting into a profession like physiotherapy? How do you, what are the challenges you face, and what would be your message to people aspiring to be in this position?
So I did my graduation in a college where everybody else was sighted and I was the only visually impaired. And I was pretty used to this scenario because I learned in a regular school. I did not go to a special school like specific to like blind or visually impaired. So I was pretty used to this concept. But when you work with patients, there's a human tendency to compare that, oh, this person can see and this person cannot. So, and that's a human tendency. I won't blame anyone for doing that. But I had to, like, get over it and prove myself there. So I would, tell others who want to pursue physiotherapy to never give up and to never be disheartened or disappointed. And, because all of us, whether we are challenged in some way or not, we all have our imperfections and we always have to, we don't have to always prove ourselves to the world, but yes, sometimes we do have to prove, I won't say prove, but yeah, to just show this world
There's an
about
extra
how
effort
it is.
that you have to put to say that we are also much capable.
Yes, we do have to sometimes. But yeah, most of the times my professors were really cooperative and my colleagues are really nice.
So do
And
runners come to you, and do they, what is it that you recommend to them about when they come with a lot of tightness and a lot of, yeah, fatigue from their running?
I think an efficient warm up is very essential, and a great cool down is very essential. And it's very important to actually have, like, if someone has those kind of issues like fatigue or any muscle strain after running, I feel they should have themselves evaluated by a physio, because running is it's generally done so easily and seamlessly, but it involves a lot of muscles and it involves a lot of coordination. It involves good hydration, good nutrition. So all those things are very imperative to look into when somebody faces an issue. And of course, even the lungs and the heart that are generally so overlooked, so the pulmonary capacity, the lung capacity is also essential. So I would recommend those who want to develop a good endurance to also do breathing exercises and to learn breathing exercises if they are planning to do yoga, to learn them from someone who is certified and someone who is a great teacher who can guide them so that they won't land up in other troubles.
So what are the therapies you do as a physiotherapist for releasing tight muscles, tightness from your post run?
So it depends a lot on the extent of tightness and the muscles that are involved. And it also depends on how old the tightness is, because many people come with older tightness that you have to relieve. So I generally do stretching, and there's something called as MFR, that is myofascial release. There's something called as trigger point release. So if they have trigger points in their muscles, I release them. There's also something called as IASTM, that is instrument assisted soft tissue manipulation. That's very effective for tight muscles and for tight fascia. Fascia is the layer that surrounds the muscles and practically everything, like even the organs. So many times it's not just the muscles that you kind of treat, it's also the fascia that you treat. And I teach my patients a lot of self stretches and exercises, and I tell them, like, I educate them about good hydration also when they are running.
So how often do you, so in the lockdown, what is your recommendation of the mileage that people should do compared to when it was not a lockdown scenario and it's safer to go outside and run? Do you see any changes, or do you think we should continue with the same mileage?
Yes, I get many patients who come and complain that because we are working from home, there's lack of physical activity because we are not going to our offices, there's no traveling. And many times working from home is more demanding, even work wise. And sometimes it disrupts your kind of your work life balance. So I always recommend them to get up every 45 minutes or after an hour to just relieve themselves, to just stretch out, to just walk about, and even just to rest their eyes and their necks and their shoulders, and to kind of stretch out their backs. And yes, if possible, to engage in, like, of course, it's not if possible, it's actually very important to engage in physical activity at least 3 or 4 times a week, because many people have very demanding work. So they say, oh, I cannot exercise every day. Then, okay, something is better than nothing. So at least 3 or 4 times a week is, of course, warranted for great fitness.
Right, that's a very useful tip. And so, how often do you recommend coming to a clinic and getting a these done with a therapist?
So generally, um, like, people generally approach a physio only if they have like pain or strain in their muscles, or um, some other issue that they cannot generally understand. So it's not like essential to visit a physio if you're running, and if you're not having any issues. But yes, if somebody experiences like, pain above their heel. So I've had many runners who have had like runner's knees, or they've had something called as TA tendinitis, tendo Achilles tendinitis, and even back pains and things like that, because some of them have weak, they are called gluteal muscles, the muscles that stabilize us when we are running, or they have a weak core. And so I feel it's only then that you would think of approaching a physio. But I feel people should, if they feel that something is going wrong and they are not able to set it right. Otherwise, that problem just keeps on worsening and getting older. And the older a
So,
problem is, the difficult it is to kind of get over it and treat it. And early, the recovery
catch
then
the
takes
early
longer.
signs and then treat it is what you're saying.
Yes.
Do you also do exercises at your clinic where they can come and regularly work out with you?
I don't have like specifically, like, I don't have like a fitness trainer or someone who can train them. But yeah, I can generally work on people, those who have kind of issues with their muscles and things like that. But yes, I know many friends who, during the lockdowns, they would take virtual sessions for people who want to work on their fitness. So yes, that's a nice way of keeping ourselves fit if we are particular, or if we have some specific requirements or medical conditions that would demand that some professional should look into the exercise program. Then for sure, physiotherapist would be the best person
What would
to
be your
guide.
advice to what would be your advice to virtual to the guides as a part of the guide runners India team? What when they handle guides, the visually impaired virtually over the Zoom call? What are the special precautions would you recommend as a part of their workout?
So, to tell you honestly, I have not attended any virtual workouts, so I'm not actually the right person to tell you. But when we would do physical runs, I had very good guides who would, actually understand me very well, and they would never make me feel that I'm limited in any way. So I think everyone does their best to, be with the other person, because I think it's always a two-way process. We are always learning from each other. It's not that we are teaching them something and they're learning. It's never like that. So we all are learning from each other. Like, they are sometimes very curious about how I do things, or I'm curious about what's happening around me. So it's always like, sharing and exchange of knowledge and information.
Right, coming on the same point that do you think that a guide who is checking on your wellness from time to time and they interact with you other than doing an exercise online, do you think that helps like a buddy um, who is interacting?
Yes, certainly. So, like you said, during my virtual run, we would exchange what we had done during the day. Like we both would kind of message each other, text each other that, oh, I did a yoga session, or I did some running, or oh, today I couldn't do anything. So it kind of develops that friendship and that spirit of working together, I think. So
So,
that's a
and
cool thing.
that's great. So also your parents are doctors, and so you're blessed to have people to look after you and work out with you right at home. So if your mother is around, if we can talk to her a little bit about this, it will be great. Otherwise, it's fine if she's
Sure,
ready.
one sec. I'll just check on her. Yeah, one sec. She'll just be here. Hello.
Hi, namaste. So good to meet you, ma'am. I was
Oh,
talking to Divya about her workout regime. Can you
uh,
hear me?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
Very
I
nice.
was talking to Divya about her workout regime, and she tells me that regularly she's able to walk right close to her apartment, and especially with the parents. So, how have you been dealing with the physical, the exercise part of the the workouts with your daughter? Just tell us a
Oh,
little about.
during lockdown,
Yeah,
even that time, we never just wasted our time. We used to do walking on the terrace, because there was no one there. So we used to wear a mask and go up on the terrace and walk for about an hour. And at home, we used to do yoga exercises. So that way, even during lockdown, we were up to something, not
yeah,
wasting time. And
yeah. That's
now, once it's open, means the lockdown is not so severe. So we go for morning walks. Every day we walk for an hour in a garden which is very close by, so there are very few people there, so it's nice, and a lot of oxygen because there are a lot of plants there,
yeah.
so it's nice, yeah. And
So
when
and
we
you, yeah,
and
please.
no, she has a treadmill in her clinic and cycle and all those things. So when we have operations on those days, I drop her to her clinic.
Yeah.
So at 7:30 she starts workout there in on the treadmill and all that, and so she doesn't waste her time at home also. So she's means very much into exercising and all that.
Yeah, so you are a doctor yourself. So what is your specialization and
I'm an anesthetist.
anesthetist? Okay. So and how did Divya choose this profession of physiotherapy? Was it along?
Actually, we are all doctors in the house.
Yeah.
Her father is an eye surgeon, Divya's father, and her elder sister, who is 3 years elder to her, she's a gynecologist. So, and I'm an anesthetist. So all of us are doctors at home. So, and plus her cousins and uncles, and there are so many doctors in the house. So naturally, she wanted to go into medical field. So because of her vision problem, she couldn't go into MBBS because they wouldn't let her give that CET in those days.
Yeah.
So yeah, so then she thought physiotherapy. We had attended a career guidance course. So there we met a physiotherapist who was visually challenged, and he had done a course in physiotherapy. So we took guidance from him, and then there was a course in NAB, National Association for the Blind. So there she did that vocational guidance course for. There was a physiotherapy course for 2 years after 10th
Mhm,
standard.
mhm.
Then she did her 12th, and then she got very good marks in that, so she could do a graduation in physiotherapy, just like MBBS. No, it's like bachelor's of physiotherapy, 4.5 years course. In that also, she stood first amongst 90 students who were sighted, and she was the only blind girl.
Wow.
Yeah, so she has been brilliant throughout, her academics. Even in the 10th standard, she stood first in SSC board, amongst visually challenged. So
Yeah.
that way, she's very bright. So she had means, I think that was a good career for her
Yeah,
because of
that's
her.
amazing. So, and she went to a regular school
Yeah,
also, and
regular school.
she went
Yeah,
to a regular college. So,
yeah, that's what
as
amongst
parents, how
90
did you feel any challenges there when it was a regular school?
challenge
Did you
means the
have to do any special things apart from
special
this?
things means I think I studied with her all throughout.
Oh, is it wonderful?
Because all her books are filled up, all her notebooks and her this thing, those journals, no, after 8th
Yeah,
standard, you all have science journals and all. So
yeah,
never her journal was empty. I used to fill up all her journals with diagrams. She had an elder sister also.
Yeah.
So she was of great help, So all her books were always full. Aisa means they were never empty, her notebooks or text journals and all that.
So what was the mode of study? Was it audio or was it braille?
Yeah.
Or
Mostly we used to record answers for her, and she used to listen in those small tape recorders. She had a small cassette recorder, and braille. So from day one, she was learning. She had braille textbooks, which NAB had provided free of charge, and plus there used to be teachers from NAB used to come and guide once a week. So that was also great help. Plus the teachers at school were very good, So they were never said that, "Arey, she can't see. How will she do that?" or something like that. They were very helpful. Yeah.
So in terms of accessible study material, was it readily available, or you had to do all
No,
the
till 10th standard, it was NAB which helped us. And after college, we used to read out all the notes and all textbooks to her. And that's how she used to, I used to record for her, and she used to memorize everything. Her memory is very good, It's like a computer. Once you tell her, it's gone.
Yeah.
Into her software.
So
So she doesn't have to be this thing told again and again,
So what would be your advice to parents who have kids aspiring to be doctors or engineers and
No,
be
they are no
professionals?
less. Yeah, we must treat them normal. That is the best thing, If we treat them special, then they remain that way forever. So for Divya, we never treated her like she can't see. And even in front of her, we say something, Arey, that is like this, and whatever we describe now.
Yeah.
So on the way also, I tell her, see this fellow, how he's walking, or whatever. Even when I'm driving the guy, I tell her, this fellow is crossing the road like that and putting his hand like this as though I'm going to stop for him. Whatever is happening on the road now, I tell her all the time. Means my cassette.
Yeah.
I keep on talking all the time. So she knows what's happening around her all the time. Means unless she doesn't want to know or something. Otherwise, like even on the road, in the house, she doesn't have to be told because she's very comfortable in the house, in the clinic. She knows what is kept where, So she manages her own stuff. Like she
As a
doesn't need any
doctor
help.
parent, what is your advice during this pandemic for special precautions for people who are visually impaired? How do they take care of
No,
themselves?
they must take care by not going out, I think, because even otherwise they wouldn't know anyone who is, of course, unless they have a mobile app which tells them anyone around them has got COVID or something. And best is to wear, we do the same thing. Unless it is very urgent, we don't go out of the house. Even now, we go to work and in the morning we go for work, an hour for walk. That's all. We don't go marketing and doing time pass in DMart and all that now. We don't, because it's too crowded everywhere. People are just roaming about as though nothing has happened,
Yeah.
Nowadays, when it was strict, that time everyone, this thing means took care. But now people are roaming about even without masks and all that. Though everyone is telling them repeatedly, but there are many people who are not listening like that.
Have you seen any special arrangements for people with disability in the hospitals? Any kind of special priority or things like
No,
that?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. Actually, they means it is not that just blind people or handicapped people get these problems, so they are treated like other normal people only.
Would they need any special facilities in the hospital if anybody comes with a
No,
COVID?
I have not seen anyone who got COVID, any blind person like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe they are taking good precautions. So.
Yeah, maybe.
And what would you like? What would you like? What would be your advice for people who want to, do fitness activities in this lockdown? People with disability, yeah.
Actually, normal. The best thing I felt was, what in school people have learned, no PT exercises and all.
Yeah.
They are one of the best exercises which we have learned in school days. And skipping and all. Skipping, running at one, jogging at one point means at one place, and stretching exercises.
Yeah.
That way.
So keeping ourselves fit and not overdoing a lot of exercises, and those spot jumping and skipping.
Yeah, really, they are very good.
Yeah, those are very good. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. So
Thank
good
you.
to interact with you.
Bye. Nice to talk to you.
Nice talking to you. Yeah, so Divya, what do you have? You have something special for the World Disability Day Inclusion Summit. Just tell us about that, and then we can go ahead with it.
Yes, sure. So what I was thinking is I would be giving a kind of and I won't say introduction, but yeah, a little bit of essence of the song that I'm going to sing, so that everyone can relate to it, and then I think I can sing the song. So I was just trying to time it yesterday, and it was coming up to like 3 or like 3.5 minutes. Uh, so I hope that's all right. Like, how's the time?
Yeah, that's fine. Just go ahead. Waiting to hear from you.
Okay. Okay. So should I speak like the way you would want me to like speak in the video, right?
Yeah, you can go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Guide Runners India, for bringing all of us together today. And thank you, Dr. Bhumika, for giving me this joy of talking to all of you today and for giving me this opportunity to sing a song for all of you today. I wish all of you a very happy World Inclusion Day. I would call it an inclusion day because this song very much relates to what all of us feel and what all of us go through. It's a very universal concept of something called as hope, because hope makes us human. Hope adds life to our life. And so I feel that if we have hope along with perseverance, determination, and our efforts, we can turn the impossible into not just a possibility, but we can achieve it. And I think this applies to one and all of us. So let's celebrate the spirit of today and let's resolve to always challenge our limits and never limit our challenges. This is a Hindi song and I hope you enjoy it. कुछ पाने की हो आस आस, कोई अरमा हो जो खास खास आशाएं, हर कोशिश में हो वार वार, करे दरियाओं को आर पार आशाएं, तूफानों को चीर के मंजिलों को छीन ले, आशाएं खिले दिल की, उम्मीदें हंसे दिल की, अब मुश्किल नहीं कुछ भी, नहीं कुछ भी, उड़ जाए लेके खुशी अपने संग तुझको वहाँ, जन्नत से मुलाकात हो, पूरी हो तेरी हर दुआ, आशाएं खिले दिल की, उम्मीदें हंसे दिल की, अब मुश्किल नहीं कुछ भी, नहीं कुछ भी, गुजरे ऐसी हर रात रात, हो ख्वाहिशों से बात बात, आशाएं लेकर सूरज से आग आग, गाए जा अपना राग राग, आशाएं कुछ ऐसा करके दिखा, खुद खुश हो जाए खुदा, आशाएं खिले दिल की, उम्मीदें हंसे दिल की, अब मुश्किल नहीं कुछ भी, नहीं कुछ भी, अब मुश्किल नहीं कुछ भी, नहीं कुछ भी. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a wonderful talking to you and a very beautiful song. And thank you to your mother for joining us for today. And we will hopefully we'll continue this kind of good work with your physiotherapy. And I want to have some more interactions between you and the guide runners. If you can give your expert advice on running. We plan to have more future sessions.
Sure, sure. And you can go through this particular clip if you feel that I should do it again, or like I should redo it or something. Please let me know, because I think at the end I was kind of fumbling a little. So if you feel I should redo it, then yeah, please let me know.
No, it is wonderful. It is a beautiful song. Thank you. Thank you for your time, Divya.
Thank you. Thank you so much.